time to stick around for the Wednesday night hump. Yeah, we're here for another Wednesday night live. Call it the Wednesday night hump for obvious reasons. I mean, if you make it through the week and get to Wednesday, you can finally see the finish line. Hope that you are having a good one so far and you can see that finish line. I want to thank you so much, first of all, for taking your time to tune in. I realize that time is a valuable thing, and I always like to start off by saying that I do truly appreciate you taking time to watch. It means a great deal to me, and I want to thank you so much for that. While we wait for more people to show up into the live stream, and while I make adjustments here, yeah, all right, I think we're okay. Yeah, that looks good. We will talk about things that have gone on here at Upstairs to the Right Music Studio. Guys, I've been kind of digging into that Greco custom that I recently got from Japan. Uh, Trying to narrow down its exact date because the 76 and the 77 uh, customs were a little bit different in their construction, and also, well, in some ways yes, some ways no. It's a knob thing. Hey Ben, how you doing? Hope you're doing fine. Welcome. Thank you so much for showing up, man. But looking at the old catalogs and whatnot, it's this Greco Black Beauty custom. It's either a 76 or 77 is what it comes down to. I cannot say definitively. Um, However, when training the Japanese again on this, I saw that in 77 discussed it being a rosewood fretboard, and the 76 as well. However, this is definitely ebony. So, this without question, it's an ebony fretboard. Again, I have had 77, 78, and 79 and 80s Greco Les Pauls that had rosewood fretboards, and trust me, they don't age and look like that. So there's a little, I can't narrow it down, but I gave it a good polishing today. I buffed it out. There's not a scratch on this thing. I am still amazed because I've seen some Gibson Les Paul 76 customs because I've been looking, comparing the two of them, seeing what the difference is, which there are none. None. Other than the fret nibs. That's it. This doesn't have fret nibs. It kind of does, but I'll call them half nibs. Like you would find on a 76 Gibson. However, everything else is exactly identical, and some of them just look terrible. Looked like they had been dragged behind the motorhome or something. This one is just as clean as a whistle. I really like it when I find them clean. Anthony in the house, how you doing? What's up to you, sir? Johnson in the house, how you doing? Yeah, so I can't narrow it down to whether it's a 76 or 77. It doesn't really matter in that regard, but even the descriptions in these, it is incorrect. And if you dig on the internet and look around, you will see that there's examples of some models that aren't supposed to be a certain way and they are. And I just think that, for some reason, this ended up having an ebony fretboard, which makes it, again, even more closer to its Gibson counterpart. So I've been kind of digging into it. Matty Two Hats, morning, evening. Two tunes, morning. I just listened to the morning by Al Jarreau. My heart will soar with love that's fresh and real. You guys know that one. It's a good song. But 76 or 77 sound close enough. But one of the things that I'm really discovering, despite its weight, I'm really digging this guitar. I love this baseball neck on it. Again, like I said, some people don't like that. I do, for sure. So it's kind of cool. I'm kind of digging it. Polished it up, not a scratch, not even micro scratches. A few of those buffed out, just in perfect condition. It's just crazy. Again, like I said, the Japanese really do keep their instruments extremely well. And if you can come across one like this that's been kept extraordinarily well, then it's always a pleasure because you got yourself a good example of what it was like, kind of, if you got it out of the shop. The only thing it's missing is its pick guard. I have black pick guards, but I kind of like it without it for now. I'm sure whoever buys it probably will too. Um, okay. Tonight, by the way, I'm drinking Coca Cola, which is a sheer sign. I'm not that tired today. I should be. I'm not. I have that Vinendal vintage show coming up this weekend, and I'm still trying to figure out my travel logistics, and that's a little daunting. I have to say, because it's in the middle of nowhere. But and I will have an instrument with me. But anyway, Diddy, the music industry and Hollywood have a lot in common, is the title of tonight's discussion. And, I want to start out by saying that I would like to call tonight. Let me make another. Just I'm trying to get a tighter thing here, but let me move. There we go. I like that better. Maybe not crooked. Um, let's call tonight a cautionary tale. Let's call tonight yet another one of Mike's caution tales. And I think it's been a big thing in the media for the last few days, at least since Monday, about the arrest of the music mogul Puff Daddy, P. Diddy, whatever you want to call him. And it's shining a light on things that I and many others here on YouTube who have been in the music industry, you know, that we point out and discuss. It's one of the reasons why I was on the option of doing commercial music, because you really don't have to deal with too much of the mess. And the parties for commercial music, believe me, they're not that interesting. Ain't nobody showing up with 1,000 bottles of baby lotion. At least I hope not. But just a cautionary tale tonight. I like to use this week's big headline news in our kind of our little table of music, our little world of music, point out a few things. And first of all, I want to talk about fame. So I wrote script tonight, actually this afternoon. My usual script writing times are between 5 and 6. I'm not kidding. It always ends up between 5 and 6. And I don't think I even had come up with a title before then. But I wanted to find some way of tying in to this week's headline news about Puffy and looking at it in a broader way, as I like to, looking at it from a lot of different angles. And I want to talk about fame. Fame is seen as the pinnacle of success. You can be famous and not rich, by the way. I'll get to that in a minute. But the glitz, the glamour, the adoration, but beneath the bright lights and the red carpets lie a shadowy, why did I, shadowy underworld. One where power, exploitation, and sometimes even the occult collide. Yeah, guys, I have told you I've told you some. I have not told you all of my stories, my LA occult stories. But and I will one of these days, or maybe not. But in any case, trust me, the even touching on the edges of it that I did and saw and experienced, I have to tell you, it's a lot more widespread than you think. And we're talking, in my case, the mid 1990s, early 1990s to mid 1990s. So today, let's take a look at the dangers of fame and the dark side of the entertainment industry. I like a dark tale every now and then. From recent legal controversies to unsettling stories from TV sets, the path of stardom is fraught with peril. Though it's not just about the high life, it's about always the cost that comes with it. Now, there's the old adage at the crossroads with us guitar players. If you're any kind of guitar player, you've heard the blues legends tale of the crossroads, where the bluesman goes to the crossroads. It's a place where two roads meet, usually in the middle of nowhere, and you meet up with the devil and at the stroke of midnight, and you make a deal with him, and you become, a hot shit guitar player. They even made a movie with it, with Ralph Macchio, the Karate Kid, and Steve was in it. Yeah. So this kind of thing is not new. This kind of thing is not new. It's been around, at least in the music business, for decades. In the pursuit of fame, many sacrifice their privacy, relationships, and even morals. I don't like to talk bad about the people that I worked with. I try to make it an effort not to, or make observations about their personal lives too much. But I have to say that the top guys that I've worked with, and big producers, like guys who have hit songs that to this day are still being played, classic hit songs. I looked at when I got close enough in the inner circle and I looked at their personal marriage life and things like that, it was a mess. It was a mess. I knew this one producer, older dude, who was dating a younger girl, much younger girl, of course, because she was an aspiring singer and she wanted to get hooked up with him because he was a producer. And I don't know what happened, but he seemed happy. I guess he was happy he's getting that young girl loving, but not that young. He was around my age at the time, and she was about half that. But one day, me and Jock can testify to this one, went to his house, and he just had the longest look on his face, just sad. Turned out, she had straight left. For another woman, she said. Or a woman. Just stuff like, and I have countless, messy. So when I talk about privacy, relationships, and even morals, because I can talk about some moral stuff, I really could. I don't want to, but the moral things I saw as well. Had two hats. They're all like I'm young in Hollywood. Well, no. In his case, well, I can't say for sure. I mean, I know him pretty well, but it didn't strike me that way. But it was an opportunist thing. It was like, Midwest girl comes over from Midwest to Hollywood, meets a producer who's had some hit records, and he's trying to use him to jump into some things. So, but it's just, and and then the results of it, the chaos that was a result of it in that case. I could speak on that because he knows very well. He was there the day he opened the door. He was standing right next to me and saw that long face. So, there's that. What is this? John Doe, Michael, Cheesy, Harry. Michael, Cheese, Harry? Michael, Cheese, Harry? Michael, Cheese, Harry? You got me on that, John. You're gonna have to be a little bit more a little less cryptic there. Now, take for instance the recent case involving the rap mogul Sean Diddy Combs. Recently, was arrested on federal charges of a heinous nature. I don't even want to get into the details of it. Once revered for his business acumen and contributions to the rap industry, his empire faces a steep decline as his personal demons came to light. But Combs is far from the only celebrity whose fame has turned into a nightmare. I again, the thing, I mean, and here's the thing about fame these days. Fame was tied to a construct that the masses thought that with the fame came riches. Now that the veil has kind of fallen down on the music industry, and a lot of people, just common Joes out there on the street now, know that the music industry doesn't generate very much music. Heck, there was one record company recently just dropped like 500 of its roster or something like that within the last week. That there's no money there. And also, and this is not just a United States and Europe phenomenon. It's happening in God of all places, even China, where I saw a report where TV broadcasters are now actors, talent, TV talent, they call it in Japan, are now going to YouTube and other places using what little fame they have, what fame they have in order to sell things and market things and do this or the other. So that whole fame industry is starting to lose its luster, which I think is a good thing. Behind the scenes, many stars are trapped. They're controlled by contracts. We've talked about that. I've talked to you about the death clause in the contract. Everybody thinks I'm kidding about that. I am not. Look it up. They got handlers. Handlers are a real thing, and handlers come in a lot of ways that you don't expect. I still find it, I don't believe in coincidences when it comes to mysterious deaths in the music industry. I may get in trouble for saying this publicly, but I still, because I don't hear too many people say it, but I still find it a strange coincidence that the same singer, female singer, was around Prince at the time of his death and Michael Jackson at the time of hers. And I'll leave that up to you to look up who that is. Matter of fact, in the case of Prince, she was on the plane when he had his first overdose. I find it very curious. I find that, I find that very curious. She was around Michael, then she's around Prince. Just find it strange. They lose control of their own lives, in a way. In the industry, well, it often enables this behavior rather than help prevent it. After all, as long as they can make money off a celebrity's name, their well-being comes second. They're always, if they can make a buck off of you, then it's all good. If they make a big enough buck on you, you better keep making them money in some shape, form, or fashion, or they're going to execute that death clause one way or the other. They have done it before. They will continue to do it if they can. But the pitfalls of fame aren't just limited to personal scandals and legal battles. Sometimes the darkness takes on a more literal form. I'm going to switch gears here a little bit and talk about something that I mentioned in passing in a previous live stream that I thought tied in very nicely to the subject at hand tonight. That is the occult. This is a true story, guys. This is what I'm going to tell you. I'm telling you, this really, truly happened. The CW network show, The Naturals, as I seem to recall it when I was typing this, I was going to look that up and confirm that, but The Naturals, I believe, is what it was, has opened up a different conversation of the entertainment industry's interaction with the occult. It was stated by the writers, one of the female writers on the show, that she was incorporating real spells that she was looking up on occult sites on her computer and incorporating them into the script. This decision wasn't just an artistic choice, uh, it raised alarms in spiritual communities. You can obviously think that the Christian communities weren't happy about that. I mean, that's an obvious one. But a less than obvious one is the fact that it was witches who contacted the network and the writers of the show and said, "You guys got to stop this. You don't know what you're messing with." You know, how foul and evil do you have to be to have witches telling you you're foul and evil? And I'm not saying all witches. I have to change my mind about them because, as a matter of fact, I got to give them props because they call them out. So you can't even call them foul and evil. They're not even that. They were calling them foul and evil. That's deep. That's deep. That's just incredibly deep. Throughout history, there's been attraction to the supernatural in entertainment. Whether it's movies about witches or shows featuring the paranormal, these themes can fascinate the public. But what happens when fiction blends with reality? In this case, with the Naturals, the real witches reached out to the show's producers, warning them about the dangers of using genuine spells. And apparently, the producers understand the potential consequences of what they were playing with. This isn't the first time that Hollywood has flirted with the occult. There have been stories of cursed movies, actors who fall into misfortune after playing dark roles, like Heath Ledger, stuff like that. And we were doing this and this, a lot of stuff like that. That's been in the history of Hollywood, actually. It's nothing new. Chalk it up to coincidence. Others believe maybe there's more here at play. And I know this is a big leap, guys, I'm taking and going from the P. Diddy thing and the music industry to this stuff. But, again, like any other good public service announcement, again, like this is tonight, it is part and parcel for me to point out that all these things are interconnected. You don't have to believe in the occult in order for it to affect you. So I thought that really all these things are starting to come to a head and starting to be exposed. And I think that, again, with this PSA, it's good to point out how these things are interconnected. Michael Watson, man, I would be scared to death messing with that stuff. you know? Yeah, I know, man. You gotta be all kinds of nuts to go on the internet, look up real stuff, and put it in your script. And then the diabolicalness of that is that when that stuff goes out, you got everybody tuning in on that, and like I said, you don't have to believe it to be affected by it. That's just fact. You guys can take that with whatever you wish to, but that's a fact. And to broadcast that out, you had to have a coven of witches call up and say, "Hey, what the hell?" Stop, cease and desist. That's bad. That's bad. I wouldn't touch it with a 10-foot pole. 10-foot pole. The rabbit holes, when you start diving down into them, can lead you to some pretty dark places. That's one of the things I wrote about in my track on my album Masanoki, Down the Rabbit Hole. It's exactly what I was talking about. I was giving examples and pointing out what can happen. And a lot of people go down these rabbit holes, and I just think that they just go down with blinders on. I don't think, they have any awareness. So whether it's unchecked power, exploitation, or just falling into these things, one thing is clear. The entertainment industry is facing a moral crisis. Now I'd like to step into part two, the morality of this. you know, the third leg to this chair, and that is the morality of it. The recent arrests, scandals, and controversies for our British friends out there, all point to a large problem, a systematic issue that has been allowed to grow for decades, decades upon decades after decades. See, a guy like Diddy learned that kind of behavior from the guys at the top that he's hanging around. All the executives, and I know one of them, Andre Harrell, um, uh, are the ones that he was taking his cues from. And if you look at some of those guys, they were able to get away with the stuff they got away with because that was the time. There was no internet, there was no YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, what have you. And stuff was kept quiet. You know, there was if you got allowed into the inner circle and you were working in those big rooms, in those big studio rooms that I got the opportunity to, one of the things that you were expected to do is to keep quiet. And they'd found, even back then. If a story popped up somewhere in a newspaper somewhere or something like that, they'd know who was there. They'd come asking you. Or even better yet, you would never be allowed back in. So this has been going on for a while. I experienced it. In recent years, movements like Me Too, of course, have exposed some of the dark secrets that Hollywood tried to keep hidden for too long, and they in themselves were dark. But let me not digress. But even with these revelations, I mean, you have dark movements within dark movements, within dark movements. Things that are supposed to be exposing one thing are actually being trolled by other people. It's insane. Most of the industry is not really been touched, however, by this. There are some powerful producers using their influence to silence victims. To a culture that prioritizes profits over people, the entertainment world can be a dangerous place for those seeking fame. You know, again, one of the lures for it used to be was the money. And usually that money was generated through album sales. I read a report recently that stated that the number one hits on the charts generally only stay up there for a week. I was blown away by that. I haven't really looked at stuff in a while, but when I heard that, I was blown away. They don't last a week, these songs. And they don't put out albums anymore, of course, because nobody takes time to listen to albums. They only put out singles and remixes and re-releases and things like that. And it's just dropping off on the charts in terms of the time that these releases are up there. Therefore, the money generated, even the little money that's generated through streaming, is curtailed. In the old days, an album could be on the charts for weeks and weeks and weeks. Think of how many weeks Thriller was on the charts. Think of how many are the Eagles' great hits. One of the greatest selling albums of all time. And the physical media that generated profits. So there was more money there. But again, like I stated at the beginning of this, the luster has fallen off of that as streaming has robbed the profits from music, the attention spans, and the concept of having any value from the consumer viewpoint of music has been destroyed. I can listen to 10 albums for $6.99 or whatever they're charging. I don't participate in streaming platforms myself. I won't give them money. I'm not gonna support those that slip my own throat, so to speak. But it's just not there anymore. Uh, what was that other thing that I saw that was so fascinating? Yeah, these stats of the longevity of these artists these days is just staggeringly bad. It's just not there. It's just not there. And therefore, again, the bloom has fallen off that particular rose. While you're inside the industry, it's easy to get caught up in the glamour. Now, again, like I said, a lot of that glamour is coming out of your own pocket. Read your contract carefully. But you are still cocooned within with hairstylists and chauffeur and nice hotel rooms and things of that nature. You're still cocooned within this glitz and glamour kind of shell. But again, even like I said, that shell is starting to wear thin. Celebrities aren't just products for the public, they're often commodities for the corporation that control their careers. Let's not forget that. If you become a part, and this is where the moral part, because corporations, show me a truly moral corporation. It's it just doesn't work. It's not going to happen. So you're a commodity for the corporation that you work for. And this can lead to all kinds of abuses, personal, financial, and just your own physical self. Yeah. So what's this? I got one up here. Matty Two Hats says Diddy was the master behind the curtain of a lot of the moral corruption of pop and hip hop. Yes. Again, however, he took his cues from the people who were above him. Everybody answers to a boss. Everybody's got a boss. And even me, who has his own company, in a way, I feel I have a boss of me, in a way, having my own company. So everybody's got a boss. And the people above him is where he was taking his cues from. Matty Two Hats. He worked directly under Clive Davis, Lucien Grand. Uh, again, like I said, Andre Harrell and Russell Simmons. I mean, you just look at some of those cats that I just named, and especially Russell Simmons, and you can say, well, he's off in Bali right now, hiding out. What's up with that? Dig that. He was taking cues from the people that he worked with and the things that they did. Now, again, like they may have been able to get away with it, but not him. And again, if you really want to tell you guys a little secret. The real reason why he's getting busted that nobody talks about? Go back a year or so ago when he got into that dispute with his Ciroc or whatever. No, that's Jay-Z. Whatever his liquor company was. He started saying, hey, what's going on? I talked about this. What's going on with this? What's going on with the number of bottles that are being sold as to what I'm actually getting on the balance sheet, my profit sheet. And I thought I was going to be made, the head of this, and I'm still just a face for it. He caused waves. And that's when his little house of cards started to fall apart. Because he poked the bear. He had a boss. When I was younger, starting out, working for a company, as a summer job, I went to my boss with some ssuggestions on how things could improve, and it went over like a Led Zeppelin. And I learned on that day, at that moment, that, you don't poke the bear. You don't poke the bear. Matt Two Heads says, yep, the whole crew is implicit. Yes. And so, just dig that, man. Dig that. Fame may be a name for some, but I think, as we've alluded to tonight, it can quickly turn into a nightmare from legal battles. I mean, look on Hall and Oates, for God's sake, are suing each other. You got the Neptunes, the production group for Will Williams and Chad, what I forget his last name, suing each other. You know, Simon and Garfunkel, you know, they got one foot in the grave and they're still, you know, not exactly on speaking terms. You know, talk about legal battles. I mean, you know, and you got this rumor about Dave Grohl, you know, having a love child. You know, all this stuff and all the stuff that comes up from that exploitation of one's personal life, and even the occult influences seeping into the entertainment industry. The dangers are numerous, a lot of examples, and very, very, very real. Again, you know. Now, I don't know if you're going to watch this in the rerun or even if you're watching right now, but I want to thank you so much for doing so. A quick reminder, hit the like button. Always takes about 2 seconds to do so, and I always appreciate you doing so. Trying to get to 5,000 subscribers. I report, very fortunately for me, that it's a steady trickle. It's a great trickle. It's growing, getting there. We're almost halfway there. We still have 3 more years. I think we can do this. So if you like what you're hearing tonight, you're tuning in for the first time, why don't you join this great community of great guys that I have here all the time showing up. Awesome, 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 awesome. It may be a tiny community, but it's an awesome one. So if you feel like joining in with us, that would be a great thing. And hit the subscription button. Now, I've tied Diddy and morality and corporatism, the occult, even a little bit, into tonight's discussion. Again, it's a cautionary tale tonight. You know, some say, well, again, they're tearing down, you know, small pubs and clubs and places that used to generate bands. Oh, that's what it was. Rick Beato was pointing out that there hasn't been a band in the top 10 for decades, for over a decade. A real band of any significance in the top 10 for over a decade. When prior to that, it was a era of nothing but bands. Now, if you go back to the 1950s, I was thinking, and you look at Sinatra and, you know, you had the big bands, of course, but, you know, you had the solo singers and things like that. So maybe this is a kind of a duplication of that era in a way for the last decade or so. But, you know, even still, there was bands. There was big bands. There was bands. So I don't know. Again, you know, the places that these bands would cut their teeth at are being taken away. So what are you really going to be left with? You know, in the end, the glittering world of fame and fortune isn't what it seems. Behind the scenes, the entertainment industry often hides a darker reality, one filled with moral compromise, personal ruin, and in some cases, a literal flirtation with forces beyond our understanding. I got into the occult and the esoteric tonight, guys. But if you have any mindset to understand, whether you believe it or not, there is people out there who do, and they make their action according to it. Again, you don't have to believe whether that's you know, we can put that off the table, but just understand that there's people out there who do, and then maybe that will give you and treat the world accordingly with that knowledge in hand. for those who seek fame, the question is, at what price? At what price? Again, this thing with Sean Combs. Now you're hearing, TMZ is saying, well, Hollywood is shaken, it's scared. In the artwork I did for tonight's live stream, I put a Hollywood sign in a broken down recording studio, an old watercolor. If you haven't seen it, take a look at it. And it's symbolic of what I mean. Those big dreams that Hollywood, I'm going to make it where the studio isn't even there anymore. Because, the Hollywood dream killed it in a way. The actions killed it, destroyed it. Empty studio. With a cheap, Bob Ross water, painting Hollywood on the wall. That's the way I view it. And so, honestly, guy, you're better off. Well, I'm not. Again, you're not going to make it. It's really, to me, if it's not clear to you by this point that things are being engineered, that you cannot make it as a musician in the classic sense in any way, shape, or form anymore. Or even if you want to be a newscaster, you got to do other things too because the money's not there. A lot of stuff, that's falling away across the world. It's being engineered. If you haven't figured that out yet, that's kind of the way it is. But they cannot take away your personal drive to create and be creative, in your own way, and get that meat to a medium that can be shared in whichever shape, form, or format you wish to do that, and experience the grassroots level of exposure that Hollywood and the music industry cannot duplicate. The reason jump on TikTok people is that they think that each one that gets kind of a bump, that's going to be the next big thing. So they sign them up, and again, like I said, the top 10, nothing lasts a week. So how well is it working out? And be your own, you got to put on a couple of hats. Got to write scripts, got to come up with catchy, visuals. You got to write, play, record, produce your own music sometimes. You got to take on a lot of hats. But by doing so and having that knowledge and information and ability, you're freeing yourself. You're freeing yourself away from the system. And sure, there are aspects of that system you still have to ride, but you can do it at a distance and in a way that if success comes, then it didn't come at the cost that it used to. Now, what happens when you get that success and how you handle it comes down to you. And again, be careful what you ask for, because those traps are out there for all. Traps and snares. And so I'm happy. I'd be happy with 100,000 views with some of my recordings, but I'm just as happy I am with 1,000 views. And you got to learn to live with that. And you got to learn what the people say. Oh, you're just saying that because, this, that, and the other. Well, I'm not the only one that's not selling. They got major artists who are in deep shit with their contracts, who are a cog in a corporate machine that are signed, to terrible contracts in some cases. I'm freer than that person. I mean, I'm making more money. I have stand to make more money because I'm taking in, 90% of my profits on my even one sale. Whereas that artist is taking a fraction of a penny on there. It's signed to a corporation, and they got to pay back hundreds of thousands of dollars. It's a trap. I swear. I really want to get that Admiral Akbar t-shirt that says it's a trap and wear that on nights like tonight when I'm discussing these things. Because sure, man, we really use a personal Admiral Akbar. Say, it's a trap. It's a trap. It's a trap. There we go. I'm working on it. But yeah, dig that, guys. Dig that. I scratch the surface on things. I don't go deep into this is what of some of these rabbit holes that I've been down because I don't want to expose you to that, not necessarily. Some can handle it, some can't. But it gets darker than this. I was just scratching the surface tonight with some of these examples that I was giving, and more things will come out with the Diddy trial. I believe they've got him locked up now. Do I think that there's a good chance that he may not make it to trial? Yeah, I think everybody kind of in the back of their mind realizes that this guy knows a little bit too much. He's got bosses. He poked the bear. And, things could happen. I'm not saying that they will. Don't want them to. I would like to see them go to trial. Because I would like a lot of this stuff exposed. It's not exposing all of it. Don't be naive. But at least it's cleaning up and it's exposing and shining a little bit of light and may accidentally clean up something that really does need to be cleaned up. But, wow, the industry, again, like I said, by 94, 95, at that young age, even I said, hey, because there was a lot of situations that I didn't, and this was the height of the industry. This is when most of the money was coming in hand over fist, or starting to. Record sales, and it was an indulgent time, and I just am not the indulgent type. And again, not even with guitars. I deal in guitars, but they keep moving on. I admire them, I photograph them, I share them with you, and then they move on to somebody else. I'm not indulgent with things. I don't have the luxury of it, of being indulgent. Hell, I couldn't afford a midlife crisis. Remember these guys talking about, well, I went out and I got this, and I guess that was my midlife crisis. What about you, Mike? And I was like, I couldn't afford one. Nah, so yeah, I'm not indulgent with things, but I sure do love these guitars. And I gotta say, I really, I've told you I've long desired to have a custom, long desired. And this is pretty sweet. This is really a pretty sweet guitar. Not ashamed to say, I even put my strap on and stood in front of the mirror to see how it looked. It's bad when you're doing stuff like that. It's a pretty sweet guitar, heavy as hell, but it's sweet. It's a sweet custom, man. It's like, again, I don't like to use the terms better than, but in my opinion and experience, it is the equivalent to a 76 Gibson custom. So there's that. So yeah, a cautionary tale tonight, guys. I thought that I would write about. I appreciate being able to sit down and write twice a week. The scripts for these live streams. My tongue is not working. Sorry. Ran out of Coke. Coca-Cola that I'm drinking. For these live streams, I'm not I'm not. I don't have any stuff left over from freak off parties. Freak off parties. Oh my god. Okay. But yeah, anyway, I'm sorry. That freak off party thought threw me what I was talking about. Again, the details that are coming out of that federal indictment are just, illuminating to say the least. I mean, not surprising, but just stupid shit, It's like, it really is. It's just, I I I have my theories on why certain guys like this reach to a certain level, because I think that those who bring them up know, how it's going to end. You know, just a theory I have. But boy, um, this week I will release the unboxing video for this Greco, so you can see me unbox it. And I'm gonna hang on to it for a minute. I've decided. As you know, I've held on to a few of them for a minute. A lot of them they go, but some of them I've held around. This one I think I'm gonna hold on to for a minute. Because the more I look into on this side of the pond, this is a lot rarer than I thought to go around. This might actually be the second guitar that I take the Vinendal this weekend. The Vinendal Vintage Guitar Show is coming up this weekend. If you recall, I restored that Greco 1977 Greco Sound Strat. I did a full restoration on that. 98% back to its original shape. And the purpose of restoring that was to take it to Vinendal and trade it in for something a little nicer. Like I have in my mind to try to get a made Mexico Strat or something like that. Take that with me to my trip to Japan and trade that for something. So this is actually only step two of my plan this weekend. But I'm thinking about taking this Greco with me as well, if not instead. It's that impressive. Like I said, you don't see these very often, and I think the trade value is certainly higher with this Greco custom than even with that restored super sound. And even with something like this, I could be looking to trade into something that might, benefit me again. The further trade down the line. Not only as I sell, I do trade sometimes. I do trades. And I'm hoping to do a trade this weekend. I'm also looking for a pull this weekend there that I hope to come across. But that's a separate thing. That maybe I do indulge in things. My pedal thing, guys, I've knocked it down to just the few that I really use and have traded off or sold the rest. But I'm getting that itch for a pedal again. I'm not gonna say what it is, but I have it because I don't want to jinx myself. But I have an itch for a pedal again for my board, and I didn't realize it until I started playing this Greco that it was something that I wanted to have. But in any case, this Les Paul custom. But yeah, guys, the unboxing video will be coming out to support this channel by looking at that when it does hit the screen. Yeah, so I got Vinendal coming up. That's gonna be something because what's this? I'm at two hats. Maybe the Black Beauty can be the midlife crisis guitar. Again, like I said, I cannot afford a midlife crisis, and guitar is out of my budget. It's inventory that needs to be moved. Unfortunately, I mean, I would. As I told you, since high school, and I'm not exaggerating. Since high school, I've wanted a Les Paul Black Beauty. I've wanted one of these. Again, to that, I buffed it out today and gave it a wax. Like I do with all of them, so it smells nice now. So it's got that that Gibson wax case smell. Well, actually, a little bit better than that. And not a scratch on this thing. You know, not a, you know, look at that. It's just a beauty. So yeah, I'd like to make it. You know, I'd like to make it a keeper. You know, it's funny. As I stated before, I like that gold top, that '98 Epiphone gold top. That's one of the reasons why it stuck around for a while. But I have to admit, I have to be honest. Even it's a lot lighter guitar too. That gold top P90, but this custom is way cooler. It's way cooler. And the bridge, it's one of those guitars where you would just live in the bridge position. You know, you wouldn't even muck around with the neck or the middle. It's just got a growl to it. But again, I am a dealer. I look like a guitar player. I'd like to think I'm not cosplaying it. I appreciate it. I come from a family of guitar players, so I hope to keep the family name up. You know, honestly speaking, I would like to keep this one if I could. A little bit more than that gold top. To have a 76 custom, even if it's a Greco custom, again, like I said, there's no aspect of this guitar that is different from its counterpart at Gibson from the same period. And in the condition that it's in lovely condition. It's a lovely, for a 48-year-old guitar, 40, 47, 48-year-old guitar, it is in awesome condition. So, and it's going to be vintage here. I'd like to. The guy who named Harley Benton was having a midlife crisis. Yeah, yeah, I dig that. Um, that's it. I hope to have that video out. I have some business to deal with tomorrow. Friday, if business is concluded or not, I will edit the video. Saturday, I have Vendall. Again, like I said, the logistics of that I'm still trying to figure out. But I'll get there because I want to do this deal. And I will film that. And Sunday, maybe I'll have the time to edit that video and put it out. But it'll be out this weekend at some point. And then, of course, Sunday we have the live stream. You know, with a YouTube channel, it's things to do. It keeps you busy. Doesn't keep you paid. But again, like I said, it's another one of those things that you do it out of love. And that's about it. And if it works out from there, then, that's groovy. But I do enjoy doing it and bringing this stuff to you guys, discussing these things. Sometimes a little deep, like tonight, but it was a public service announcement that I thought that I would share with you. And I want to thank each and every one of you for showing up. Thank you, Ben. You take care, and I will see you guys this weekend. All right, what we got here? Yeah, goodbye to you guys. Yep, see you this weekend, one way or the other, either with something on my regular content or through the live stream. You guys take care. I will see you around. Bye-bye.